Welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We'll rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Murder in New Hampshire, the Pamela Smart Story. Murder in New Hampshire, the Pamela Smart Story is a dramatic reenactment of the events surrounding the murder of Gregg Smart on May 1st, 1990. The prosecution states that Pam, played by Helen Hunt, starts an affair with a high school student, Billy, played by Chad Allen, and devises a plan to have him and his friends murder her husband so they can be together. Screenplay by William Wood, directed by Joyce Chopra, and premiering on CBS as their movie of the week on September 24th, 1991. I'm assuming you have not seen this movie before?
No, I haven't.
Because it's a TV movie that doesn't typically get wide range.
Yeah, I don't... I mean, I know this story, I've heard of it, and I've heard podcasts about it.
Okay. Yeah,
I've never... And I know the movie To Die For, that this is loosely based off of.
Yeah, which I didn't know until doing research for the movie. I never seen it. If someone, before we started watching this movie, if someone were to say the name Pamela Smart to me, I probably would have recognized it as someone who was involved in some sort of infamous court case. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know if she was ever convicted or acquitted, if it was like a murder thing, if it was like a teacher-student thing. And in this case, it's kind of both of those, because those were like the most popular court cases that got national attention.
Yeah.
In the 90s is, either a woman murders her husband or she has an affair with
this is like all
premature
three.
boy.
This is like all the above.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
but I mean, someone who was like a 10-year-old at the time.
I was not.
I didn't care.
As a 10-year-old, I was not paying attention to this.
No.
I didn't really know about this until I was maybe, like 16 or something.
Okay.
Like in high school. Like after watching To Die For.
Yeah, I think the one that really resonated, but stuck in my head more was like the Mary Letourneau case.
Yeah, because I think we were a little bit older at that point.
Yeah, and then it came back when she got out of prison and they married.
Yeah.
And so like the story kind of continued or refreshed itself in the media cycle at the time.
And there was no killing involved. It was
No.
It was just the scandal of her.
I don't want to say just. It was a statutory case.
I knew about that case more than this one.
Right. But I think,
because I think by that time I was like 17, 18. So that's when I started, getting... I was more cognizant of these things.
Yeah, and I think, to us, it's, talking about Pamela Smart now may be similar to someone, who's in their 20s trying to talk about, like, Casey Anthony in 10 years. They may be aware of the name, but they don't remember what she did or what she was accused of doing. So I think it's the same type of time frame gap type of thing. These things happen every once in a while, and CBS jumped on the opportunity to produce a movie as soon as possible because, as I mentioned in the summary page, the murder happened on May 1st of 1990, and they had already produced and premiered a movie on September of the following year.
Yeah. And, I mean, that trial...
went fast.
Yeah. Being experienced with trials, I mean, I have no idea about criminal stuff, but this was, like, expedited quickly. And... I mean, even just trials that we see now, like, with the staircase or even, the jinx or like that stuff takes like a couple of years.
Yeah, years. And then there's usually a bunch of appeals that go through.
This happened within like 3 months, it seemed like.
Right.
Like the trial just happened in like August or something of the same year. It was just insane how
Well,
quickly this, like, I don't know, the conviction came about, and then all of a sudden 2 months later they're already thinking about making a movie for this.
Yeah, I mean, because apparently this is one, it's not really mentioned so much in the movie itself, right? But this is apparently like one of the first nationally televised trials, the first ones that got media attention. So yes, of course there's going to be attention, or, you know, the idea of sensationalizing it and fictionalizing it, to take advantage of the groundswell, you know, the interest in pop culture. The movie does not really mention that media frenzy at all. There's like one establishing shot of the courtroom at the very beginning where there's a bunch of people trying to get into the courtroom, but it's not a huge crowd. It almost seems like it's, a bunch of like local people or local media. It doesn't seem like it'd be anything beyond that.
Yeah, but this got, nationwide attention.
It did, yeah. And even in the courtroom scenes, which are not very many in the movie, it's mostly the reenactments of what happened leading up to the trial. But they don't really mention any of that frenzy. They don't really show the cameras. They don't talk about like people taking photographs all the time, or, the news reporters don't really factor into the plot. So, it's weird that was such a major part of the actual story, in a sense, but it's omitted completely in the script and the production of this. But I think part of why the resolution happened so quickly is because it seemed like, if the movie is to be believed, right, everyone was really sloppy about how they handled the crime and talking to each other about it, because you have like these scenes near the end where these teenagers, it's a group of 4 teenagers, 2 of them quote unquote broke into the house with what we're told is an unlocked door, and 2 of them are waiting in a getaway car at the mall parking lot, however
we don't know how far away.
And so, there's 4 young teenagers, and so they get to bragging about stuff naturally, and then word gets around, and then
you
people, the dominoes start to fall, and she gets
you can't
arrested
keep
very
quiet
quickly
about something like this.
And even in scenes in the movie, there's a lot of scenes where Pamela Smart is talking openly in a public setting in the school about their plans to murder her husband. And Cecilia, this student / temp worker who's working at this media center for extra credit, overhears all this, and she's like, "You're not going to really do it, are you?" Like, so clearly it's wide out in the open according to this movie.
The teens are going to gossip.
Right.
But, that's when... so we also watched there was a documentary about Pamela Smart called Captivated, and that was released in 2014, but she just kind of... we get her side of the story where she just says she never really spoke to Billy about coming up with a plan for killing her husband at all. So she, it makes it think that, the Cecilia girl just said that stuff about Pam and Billy coming up with this plan, like, pretty much in front of her.
Yeah, this
and also Billy, I guess.
This documentary throws a lot of doubt into the whole conviction of Pam.
Yeah.
And I think with very compelling arguments. One is obviously like the media frenzy behind the whole thing and how everyone seemed to get swept up in that, including the judge, and the jurors and everyone else involved. And so there's like this narrative that was being pushed on TV that was swaying the verdict potentially, that the jurors were not properly sequestered to avoid that media coverage, and that, influence, that the young kids who were there, the 4 kids, were not sequestered from each other. They're all allowed to just stay in a group and basically converse and get their stories straight at all times. And that would
without
act as
any guidance from an attorney or anything like that.
Right. And then there was a lot of...
it was sloppily handled all around.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest piece is that the conviction hinged a lot on this bugged recording where Cecilia wears a wire and is talking to Pam about the whole plot. And evidently the audio is so garbled that someone had to transcribe it. We don't know who transcribed it. And the transcription makes it look like certain things happened in an order when it could have been overlapping conversations. And so they used the text version of the transcript rather than the actual audio, which was inaudible to most people.
To use in
as their
court.
key point of evidence in this.
Yeah, against Pam.
So there are potential doubts, and without having access to the old court footage where you would see the actual prosecution and defense live in full force,
this is
there may be more to the story.
This is 1990, so they probably do not have all that, equipment. And plus, this is pretty much the first one to be televised, like on court TV.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't court TV at that time because this was 90, so they didn't even have that cable channel. But I think court TV started around 93-ish, like the O.J. Simpson trial era.
Okay.
Well, I think that's when that really started to hit.
I did go on courttv.com.
But things like CNN and whatnot probably would have covered day-to-day coverage.
Yeah.
Most likely, obviously, a lot of local channels would have given you the rundown each day. And there were, especially in the area where this happened in New Hampshire, they would preempt all the programming and show you the entirety of the trial.
Yeah.
Throughout, each day. So, there are records in local news stations, whether or not those have been retained, who knows, but it was shown in its entirety, at least in some markets, but it got national attention enough that CBS wanted to pick up a movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what's really interesting is something that kind of bothers me about the entire story in general, not just how, what we learned from the Captivated documentary, which I think was originally on HBO. Now you can rent it on different services like Prime.
Yeah.
And also in the movie is that it doesn't seem like the motivation is really there for Pam at all. And so they lean into this whole like 80s mentality of punk is bad. Right? So like when you're first introduced to Pam, she's like this punk rebel,
heavy metal maiden, and well, she was in college a DJ, and she was obsessed with the band Van Halen.
Right, and her license plate is Halen.
Yeah, and she even names her dog Haley after. So she just, she's obsessed with them. People are obsessed with a band or whatever.
But when presenting a character, especially in the public eye and in the media,
they're just like,
days,
oh, she listens to hair metal, and metal is. That's
heavy metal is equated with evil.
This
especially
is
in the 80s.
Yeah, this is getting into like the whole satanic panic again.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't say anything like she's a Satan worshiper or whatever.
Right, but they allude to that.
That like
just
heavy metal is bad.
Yes, and Billy is also a punk rocker, and so he's bad. They make a really big deal about how Gregg cuts his hair to get the corporate job to help support them.
Right.
And she's really upset that she's not with the same person that she was with before because
college,
the hair was cut.
Yeah.
He's no longer the punk, and so now she needs to find something different, and here comes Billy with the long hair. Oh, good. It's they focus a lot of attention on this as if it's a key attribute as to why she is the way she, why she did what she did.
Right.
Allegedly. And then the other part, which isn't really focused on too much other than this weird scene where they shortly after Pam and Gregg get married, there's that scene with them and Gregg's parents about her itemizing all of the presents and listing the values of each thing that they got and like saying, oh, on my side of the family the average gift costs X and on your side it costs Y. Isn't it important to learn these things? Like, one, no, I think everyone's agreement that it's really not important to learn these things, but two, why was that scene in there? Because it didn't actually factor into anything.
I think
it's just showing us that she's like materialistic and all about money.
I think they were just trying to show that she was kind of
like sociopathic or something.
Yeah, either that. Well, yeah, that and just kind of it made it seem as if she married Gregg for his money because it's obvious that his family has the money, and her side of the family does not.
Right, but
because
her
that's
side
the
of the
whole
family gave more in presents than
that's what she's kind of
the
like
money
passive
side.
aggressively telling
Right.
her in-laws, my family spent more money on our wedding gifts even though they do not make a lot of money, and you guys make a lot of money and didn't give us, a $300 toaster or whatever.
Right.
I think that was just like a kind of like to show her as being this, materialistic, or just like this passive aggressive.
Which is going away
woman.
from the punk mentality, right? Like, it's sort of contradictory, unless they're also trying to paint the picture of she's so materialistic that she would kill Gregg for the money.
Well, kind of.
They sort of get in that because, obviously Billy is not going to be able to support them.
Right. Well, because that's why in the movie, she's like, the only way for us to be together is for Gregg to die or be killed or whatever.
Right.
So I can take his insurance money and then we can be together and use that insurance money to be together. Because if they divorce, because Billy's like, why don't you just divorce? She's like, well, he's going to take everything and I'll have nothing. And then me and you will have nothing.
Right. And she also talks about, I guess we should say trigger warning for abuse in this.
Yeah,
right?
Domestic abuse.
But I mean, the movie lends us to believe that that's completely false.
Yeah.
I don't know enough because the HBO documentary does not cover it at all, and I don't know what research you've done. I don't know if that even came up in the trial at all in terms of her possibly being abused.
No, because what I was saying on courttv.com, I don't want to say the trial is on courttv.com, and I was watching some of it.
Okay.
Like some of
their
they
have
testimony.
Historical info.
So she makes Gregg out to be this great guy. She doesn't say anything about him being abusive or anything.
Right.
But I don't know if that's like, so in the movie, they show her with, bruises and stuff, but
they show her with one bruise, and they have like that one scene where she runs to her parents' house because she claims that Billy hit her.
But I think it
doesn't seem like that was actually the case.
Yeah.
They made, they're making it out so that Pam is a liar who will manipulate anybody to get what she wants.
Yeah, that's what this
movie.
TV movie is making it out to be.
Yes.
But and
so she's also telling Billy, we can't just divorce because he is aggressive, he's mean, he's going to come after us, he's dangerous.
And then even in the documentary, she doesn't mention it at all. But I mean, I think
the
in
negative thing that they say in the documentary is that he cheated on her.
Yeah, that's
and
the one
that's
thing.
That's why she started the relationship with Billy, is sort of like a revenge affair.
Because, I mean, Billy was showing all this affection towards her, or he had a crush on her, and she just liked having some sort of attention from someone.
Mm-hmm. And they'd only been together less than a year. Or married less than a year.
Yeah. We don't know how long they've been together officially.
Yeah, it seemed like high school, maybe?
Maybe, because, she's 22 when he's killed.
Right.
He's 24. So they may have met in college. I mean, they don't really say.
They don't really say.
But they may be together. They probably were together during college. So maybe they were together like 3 years. They get engaged. They got married. And then they were married just under a year. So they're probably together like 3-4 years total.
Right. Yeah, I think overall, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think the movie showed legitimate motive on Pam's part.
Yeah.
It just showed her to be
like
some cold,
selfish,
manipulative person who is just going to do whatever she wants at any time. And there's no real reason to kill Gregg, but she did it anyway. That's what the movie was presenting.
Yeah, this TV movie.
I think that was sort of a mistake. Yeah, the TV movie. I think they probably should have presented more of an actual legitimate motive, but maybe they couldn't because there wasn't anything. I
don't know where I don't know how the director or the writers they probably got this information just from watching the trial themselves, and they probably came up. I mean, I don't know if they spoke with like her parents or his parents. I don't know how they made this movie.
They definitely make it seem like it's based off of like the news coverage and every like the testimony that Billy and everyone else had provided.
Yeah, they mostly got.
And then they just recreated it from that.
Yeah, they mostly got the information from the teenagers, like not necessarily her.
Right.
Well, because she was found guilty, so they probably couldn't even speak to her.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have wanted to either.
Yeah.
Yeah, because why would a guilty person tell us the truth? They didn't tell the truth in court, and who would believe it?
Right. So yeah, they're probably the writers for this TV movie. It's like on the perspective of these teenagers.
Yeah. By the way, it was written by William Wood. He does a lot of TV work. He's done like the Mod Squad TV series, Mission Impossible, Mary Tyler Moore episodes as well. But he also does, schlock like The Execution, City Killer, Savages. And he also has another 1991 TV movie that is not on our list because I couldn't find a working copy, a visible copy for us. It's called Deadly Intentions Again, starring Harry Hamlin and Fairuza Balk. So if anyone knows of a way for us to watch that, let us know. But yeah, that's the guy who's responsible, sort of an old school TV writer. But yeah, so I think, he basically just took everything from the trial and just leaned into that narrative of, oh, she's this cold-hearted woman who's going to do what she wants to do, and no one's going to stand in her way, and it doesn't matter if it actually makes logical sense or not. There are a lot of weird scenes in this movie that I think the HBO documentary puts additional context into them, but one that really stood out to me that didn't really get much additional context is the orange juice ad where her and Billy kind of really start to spark up their affair.
Yeah.
So she's this media director. She's not actually a teacher in this school. She's part of this media program that I guess covered in the documentary, HBO one, says she covered like multiple schools, not just this one that Billy went to, but also a bunch. So she was bouncing around a bunch. And one of the initiatives that they wanted to do is there's a contest for orange juice where they wanted people to create advertisements for their product or just the generic concept of drinking orange juice, which is makes sense in the 90s. There's
it's like orange juice is healthy, it's vitamin C or whatever.
Just the Florida Orange Council or whatever. It's not a specific company, just general fruit promotion. And so they're doing all kinds of like crazy dress up dances as cave women and like bashing oranges with clubs and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it was
Billy's
very
holding the camera. And...
cheesy. Yeah. And then I was like, I want to see the real ad. And
I know.
Well, in the documentary, they show
a tiny
like a
bit
minute
of it,
and it's exactly that, where it's her and the other two. It's Cecilia and then another girl, I guess, that they used.
Right.
From maybe that program, because I don't know how many people were really in that program.
Yeah,
it seemed like there was like 4 kids, but there may have been more.
There probably were more. Yeah, when they first introduced Billy and Pam as, in the same room together, they're in a circle where they're sharing stories about drug addiction, basically.
Yeah, because she
I don't know what it has to do with media.
I think she wanted to do
like a PSA.
Either that or not a documentary, but maybe a PSA about, children in high school and like dealing with, drugs or whatever. I think that's...
Unless she also just does that in her part-time is like helping with counseling of teenagers because she had those struggles in the past, she said. Right. So
yeah, and then she has like that communications degree.
Yeah, so maybe it's just been an additional mentorship role in addition to her media stuff, but they don't get into that too much. But yeah, it's a really weird scene with the orange juice stuff.
Very
and it intrigued me to learn more about the real story.
Yeah, it's like cheesy. It's a very cheesy video, and what I appreciate about this movie is they are like very true to like everything, including that video. Like even just the clothes that she wore when they show the documentary of Pam like being interviewed after her husband died, when she's wearing a red dress in the movie. I mean, we didn't even say, like, Helen Hunt is Pam.
Yeah,
like, we
said that in the summary paragraph.
Oh, okay. But like Helen Hunt is wearing a red dress, so it's like they did pay attention to that.
Yeah, they got a lot of
like they
the
stayed
visual
true.
details. Yes,
They stayed true to like all the visual details, because they even comment about her clothes and like her makeup and hair a lot.
And like the location looks to be about the same. You know, the condos look about the same as what they really were.
Yeah.
And some of those other details, and like the mall parking lot probably is the exact same mall
It's
parking
probably
lot.
like the same condo association, and they just used like a different one that wasn't theirs. Maybe it was like a neighbor's house. I don't know.
Right.
That they filmed at.
Yeah, it's tough to know for sure, but yeah, they do seem to take great care in those details, even if there's no way for us to know for sure if any of the actual dialogue is real, right? So, but I mean, regardless of that, so the orange juice ad is really when the whole Billy and Pam thing starts to heat up, because he's holding the camera, she's obviously dancing and flirting, and then she asks to take a shower at Billy's after the shoot.
I was like, that's a no. I mean, if you're...
it's not like
elder.
she's... Clearly, it's meant as a predatory move.
Like she's grooming him?
Yes. And her like, oh, can you develop these pictures for me? She has these calculated moments that she's going through.
When they were talking in the documentary, she was like, my friends and I... That's where I was like, this is what her problem was. It's like, you shouldn't have shown... Like, you know he has a crush on you. You are the adult here. You need to stop it immediately.
Yeah, but the movie's definitely not going to show that. The movie is going
even
to,
in real life, she should have been like, hey,
for sure. Yeah.
I am
any adult dealing with a teenager. Do not do these things. Yes.
But
that's
I know
clear.
in the documentary, she was like, he was just paying so much attention to me. And she did say that her husband cheated on her and she just wanted someone and he was just there. But I mean, you have to, he's like 15, she's 22. You gotta be like, I am the adult here, and that's that.
Yes. Yes.
Like, nip it in the bud immediately.
Right, but the movie is going for a specific narrative. Right?
I know but
like
even
the whole idea of, I'm going to take a shower at your house, when she could easily, basically just, it's her hands that are messy. Right? She's not covered in gunk. It's like, her hands are a little sticky from the oranges.
They were they were like pouring orange juice like down their clothes. Like their clothes were sticky.
Okay. But I don't remember seeing that. But I don't know.
She should have been like, okay, I'm going to go home and take a shower. Not be like, hey, can I take a shower? That's obviously... It looks like he had a shower off his own bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, no.
No, it's clearly a setup.
I know.
And we're intended to believe that that's fully really how it happened. And maybe that came from testimony from Billy.
Yeah.
And saying, like, this is where it first started. But we do know that they had a relationship in real life, so that part's not fictionalized.
Yeah, I mean,
so
she does say
somewhere.
in the documentary that, they did have a relationship and they did sleep together.
Right. So it's not, it's even if the movie is exaggerated, it did happen.
Yeah.
And at one point in the movie, basically, Gregg is away on business, and so Billy goes over to Pam's house, but also with Cecilia there, so it doesn't look suspicious.
Right.
But Cecilia is basically just there.
As like the third wheel.
As the third wheel, where they go up and boink. Right. And then Cecilia like walks in on them because she's bored because like the TV show that she was watching, which was like porn.
Yeah.
Like,
Pam's like, this isn't
like, this porn's over. I'm bored. I'm gonna knock on the door when I know you're clearly having sex.
So Pam invites them over. And
she
like,
thinks that Cecilia's on her side.
But I mean, this is also like kind of predatory on Cecilia if this happened. I mean, this is like on Cecilia's point of view, where Pam invites them over and they're watching like it looks like softcore porn, and I mean, Pam and Billy are making out in front of Cecilia, and Cecilia's just kind of like rolling her eyes like, oh, this sucks. Like, why am I here? And then Pam and Billy go upstairs, and Cecilia's like, okay, have fun, whatever. I'll just finish this movie. And then when the movie ends, she's like, I'm bored. She goes upstairs, opens the door, and she sees them, sleeping, like having sex. But I mean, we don't see them. You just hear like moaning or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's like, oh, 2 minutes have gone by. I'm bored. I'm going to go check in on them.
Like, obviously, you know what's going on.
Yeah. Like, she knew. Yeah, so a lot of it just
Why
doesn't
open the
add
door?
Right.
Like, I would just... Cecilia should have been like... someone should have said something. I know Cecilia, like, in the TV movie, she told... Like, she works at some pizza place or something.
Yes.
And she tells a coworker all about, like, what's going on. Like, oh, my teacher or this woman.
Well, I question that, though. Because okay, so the call comes into the cops as an anonymous tip as a coworker of Cecilia's.
Yeah.
Saying that Cecilia told her all this stuff. But it sounds to me like Cecilia's voice.
So you think
I think she's ratting herself out as an anonymous tip.
But when they do call Cecilia in... She's like, who told you?
Right. She's playing dumb.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not going to admit, especially with her mom there and Pam out in the hallway listening into stuff.
So you think that it was just like
that
it was
she ratted herself out.
It was a way for Cecilia to tell them without revealing she was the one that told them.
Yes.
Okay.
Because her voice sounded almost identical. I could be,
I mean, we don't hear about any of that in the documentary. Like, we don't hear anything about Cecilia's point of view at all in the documentary. The documentary is just on Pam's point of view. We don't hear...
And also admonishment of the media.
Yeah.
Basically saying, media fucked everything up. They're the devil, including us. Like,
yeah.
They're even saying, like, this documentary is, like, flawed because they show segments of some of the talking head interviews where they're like, oh, wait, let me review my notes and, was that okay? Do you want me to do it again? Type of a thing. And they even talked to the director, Joyce Chopra, briefly. They only have, like, a couple lines with her in there where the director, Joyce, basically seems to hate that she took the job. Mm-hmm. Right? She's like, media is corrupting points of view, and I was a part of that. Right? Like, she's taking responsibility to basically say, yeah, oops. In retrospect, this was
like people
not
are
great.
Yeah, just Pam, I don't know if she probably got like death threats and like
sure, like, whatever,
just from people across. If this case was today, just with Twitter and social media and stuff, like the way it would have been like amplified times a million.
Oh, yeah,
by, like, people's
for sure.
sides.
For sure, yeah, we see that a lot. And things... The tides turn based off of each little piece of evidence, and so, little waves of stuff that happen. But, I think Cecilia was trying to protect herself, but it didn't... I don't know. It was weird how they handled it in the TV movie, and that she's overhearing this entire plan. Pam basically treats her like a colleague, like a friend at times, and is almost trying to talk to her as a teenager at times.
Yeah, sometimes Pam talks to her like a student, but then other times she talks to Cecilia like a best friend.
Yeah,
but maybe I don't know anything about like Pam. Like, she seemed like she didn't have much friends. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't really get into that too much at all either. I think what the movie was trying to do is also just sort of show that she was stuck in the past and how she wants to be a teenager again, and how she hates being an adult and having lives and responsibilities, and so this is a way out for her. Yeah,
she wants to live her teen life still. I mean, she's 20.
She's still really
young.
So, but clearly there are lines that can't be crossed, and are still crossed. And I think that the big thing is, did she actually have any part in this murder or not? The documentary seems to think maybe not, and
Cecilia is saying that doubt. I didn't conspire with Billy at all to make Billy kill Gregg, because she was like, I really loved Gregg and I wanted to
Pam. You said Cecilia didn't conspire.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Pam and Billy.
Right, yeah, you're saying that Pam did not conspire with Billy because she loved Gregg.
Yeah.
They had been married for less than a year.
But yet Pam was just in the documentary saying, even in her testimony on trial, she was like, he was a good guy. Everyone loved him. You know, I still love him. And I was trying everything in my power to be with him. I think she was just hurt because he cheated on her that one time.
Right.
And then she was like, I want someone to pay attention to me. And then she's got Billy. But then it seemed as if their relationship only happened over a matter of a couple of months. And then she tells Billy, we cannot do this anymore. And ends it. But then that's what, in this movie, it seems like she wants to be with Billy for the rest of her life.
Yeah, I don't fully know if that's true or not.
Yeah. Because, well...
I mean, a lot of the conversations that she has is, again, very meant to be cold and manipulative, where when Billy doesn't kill Gregg, the first and second times...
She's just like, don't you want to be with me?
Like, what the hell is wrong with you? You either
like,
do this or we're done.
Yeah, she's like, why would I want to be with someone like this if you can't even, like, do a simple thing like kill someone? I don't know.
Right, like, are you a coward or do you not love me? Which one
right,
is it?
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, I do love you. Okay, so then you're a coward. You're a chicken shit. Well, they don't say those words, but
yeah. I mean, that's probably, like, on the point of view of, like, Billy's side.
Yeah, this is probably all coming from Billy's testimony.
Yeah.
Because the only proof that we maybe have that she actually said these things is the Cecilia taped conversation, which again is this weird,
this
possibly
transcript.
broken transcript. So
we don't really have know what really happened up until Gregg's death. I mean, it's Cecilia makes it things as if like Gregg became so obsessed, or not Gregg, Billy became so obsessed with her that he wanted to kill Gregg on his own volition.
Right.
And then
enlisted his friends and got a gun from one of his friends' dads.
And a gun. Yeah, just to kill Gregg. But in the movie, it's like she's working with him because she's like, he comes home at this time.
I'll be at this meeting. So
I'll be out at
I
work.
left the door unlocked.
Like, I left out some jewelry for you to take to make it look like a botched burglary.
Make sure you lock my dog away.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff happened, right? The place did have some stuff stolen from it.
Because
the dog was locked in the basement.
Yeah, they do.
She was in a meeting and he was alone, and they knew that
in
was
the documentary, they do. I mean, they show Gregg. I mean, they don't. His head is covered. Thank God.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, they show
slumped
over.
Him slumped over in like exactly how it is in the movie, like right in the entryway, and even in the documentary they say about how like the dog was in the basement, and they do show actual video of the house like ransacked, like stuff like turned over and like jewelry taken. So, but that could have just been the teenagers, Billy and his friends, coming up with that idea themselves, not Pam telling him what to do.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been. But the movie will, again...
And then, like, also in the movie, she's like, I'll give you $1,000 to do this.
Right. And Billy's not a good negotiator, because at one point after he fails, or, fails to act the second time, he's like, well, we want $1,000 each for all four of us. And she's like, no, I only have $1,000 total. She's like, Billy's like, okay.
But then,
which is kind of funny.
But then I think she was like, "I'm gonna get $140,000 for his insurance."
That's what Billy was saying.
Yeah, and I'll give you, once I get that insurance money, I'll give you the rest.
I don't think they ever said that. No, I think Billy's like, I want $4,000, $1,000 for each of us. I'm only giving you $1,000 total. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
I don't know.
But yeah, going back to the whole thing, like after the act is done, they again lean into this narrative of her being very cold and emotionless because she immediately starts a media frenzy where she is in front of the camera all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And so like when she comes home and sees her husband dead, they in the TV movie show Helen Hunt arrive. Well, first they show they actually show the murder like at the very beginning of the movie, but they don't show the aftermath or anything until later. It cuts to a courtroom scene. And then later on when they come back to the actual event, she comes home and she's basically like, "Oh no, what happened?" And then
she's like, "What?"
Clearly play acting.
Yeah, she's
grief.
like, "How do I act?" Well, this is even when she's talking to Billy about it. She's like, "How should I act when I find his body? Like, should I call the police or should I go to a neighbor? Should I go here or there?" And then Billy's like 15. He's like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
So she ends up like going into the neighborhood screaming, and then like a neighbor calls and says, "This woman in my neighborhood is like screaming
for help."
And that's how this is handled to find Gregg, slumped over.
And then the parents come over and the dad had, I don't know, it was kind of a funny line to me when it shouldn't have been. The dad, Bill Smart, he's like, "Children are killing children, Judy. Who knows what to believe anymore?"
yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny. The parents factor in to a degree, and like Judy Smart has her moment, played by Michael Learned. She has her moment of why me, God, type of a thing. Michael Learned, 4-time Emmy winner, and also a nominee for the Waltons, and also nurse. She's also in the 1991 movie Aftermath: A Test of Love and Keeping Secrets. And then Ken Howard, who played Gregg's dad, Bill, Emmy winner for Grey Gardens. He's in Crossing Jordan, and probably best known for being the coach in the White Shadow TV series from the 70s. He's going to be in the 1991 movie Oscar. So they factor into it, and just to a degree, basically just as, I think they're supposed to be the audience, because they're present when she's going through like the money concerns and when she's berating him for drinking at the Christmas party.
Yeah.
And so, they're sort of meant to be a representation of us watching her bad behavior sort of get worse. Yeah. But so getting back to the media attention side of things, basically there's a scene where the cop tells Pam, "Do not talk to the media. You don't want to escalate this thing." And then the very next scene is her trying to be on camera with Bill Spencer, who is a reporter in real life who plays himself in this movie. He was covering it for the local New Hampshire news. He's one of the key figures as to why it started to blow up a lot. But it's basically her saying, "Oh, should I do it differently? Do you want me to do a separate take?"
Yeah.
Because there's a subplot very early on where she got rejected for being a TV news anchor. So she
like in the beginning, she wanted to be on the news, like a news anchor.
Yeah, she wanted to be a personality.
Job. Yeah.
So again, I think it's leading into that sociopathic type of framework.
The story. Yeah. But then he's also in the documentary because he was like, she called me, and then he said that she was coming up with ideas and how to
frame shots or include.
She was like,
things.
Let me stand over here, you stand over here, and then I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna take a shot of me doing this. Like, she was directing how she should be interviewed by him. Right,
and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in the public eye.
Oh,
because, she's coming across as very cold and calculating rather than any sort of emotion. There's no grief, there's no crying,
she's
there's
not showing any
voice.
emotion at all.
It's like, wow, this is really terrible what happened to my husband.
Yeah.
Was that okay? Should I take it again?
Yeah.
That's the impression she was giving off over and over again in all these different media interviews.
That's not a great thing.
But that doesn't mean that she had any part of it.
Right.
Or it could just be that, you can be both a sociopath and also not guilty of accessory to murder.
She probably has, I don't want to, diagnose anything, but she's just probably just, like a narcissist or something.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? But so anyway, that's the framing of the movie. I will say that the courtroom tidbits are weird. Like at the beginning, they're meant to sort of act as chapter breaks, right? So like a thing happens, and then you go back to the courtroom, and they have like a little bit of testimony, and then you go back to a reenactment, and then the courtroom, and then eventually the courtroom stuff just kind of goes away until the end when we hear the verdict.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting that we get a couple big name actors for the prosecutor and the defense who are barely in this movie, right? Like you have Howard Hessman as the prosecutor, Paul Maggiato, who's a 2-time Emmy nominee for WKRP in Cincinnati. He was in Head of the Class, Flight of the Navigator, Halloween 2 from 2009, right? But he has, 5 lines of dialogue, And then the defense attorney is Larry Drake.
Yeah, who's Dr. Giggles.
Dr. Giggles, who's Darkman, right? A Golden Globe nominee and 3-time Emmy winner for LA Law.
And
he's barely in the movie too.
Yeah, were they that? I guess they were.
They were big. Yeah, they were both big.
Pretty big.
I mean, definitely Howard Hessman, right? Because WKRP was before my time. That was like in the 80s. And
you
Larry
got
Drake,
Head of the Class,
Law
yeah,
was like late
80s.
80s, early 90s.
So these are their most famous actors they got. Because Helen Hunt, this is kind of like. She's been around, but this is like before Mad About You.
Yeah,
then, all the other, like Twister and stuff like that. All the movies that made
like
her.
Twister, As Good as It Gets. She was Oscar winner for that, right? Mad About You. She has 4 Emmy wins for that. So, all before that stuff. And then Billy Flynn, played by Chad Allen, he was pretty big too as a child actor. He has been in a bunch of stuff before this.
And he was like the boyfriend in My Two Dads.
Yeah, he was in My Two Dads. He was in he had a very key role in St. Elsewhere, which may be a spoiler for that entire series. I don't know if I should even say it if anyone wants to go out and watch St. Elsewhere, but apparently he plays some kid with some sort of like a brain injury or something like that. And the last episode, it's revealed that the whole series may have taken place in his head.
That
so
whole
sort
season?
of like the whole series of St. Elsewhere may have taken place in Chad Allen's head, character's head.
I've never watched St. Elsewhere.
Me either.
But no, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's like kind of like a Newhart thing where it's all a dream, right? And then he was also in Our House with Wilford Brimley, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Yeah.
After this, he was also the voice of Charlie Brown in Happy New Year, Charlie Brown in 1986. So he was around, and the acting is good, especially from Chad Allen and Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Like, forget about how realistic it is to their characters. That's sort of beside the point in a lot of cases with movies in general. I think Helen Hunt played that manipulative role really well. When she was fake acting, you knew that it was fake acting and not just bad acting. Chad Allen was good as a vulnerable punk when he needed to be, and also like a stronger figure when he needed to be. Very good performances in this TV movie. So it's an interesting cast.
Problem for me was the very end where she's found guilty and then that's it. People like in the background are cheering.
Yeah, and then there's like a quick scene of Bill and Judy at their son's grave laying flowers, and then credits. Like there's no info about the sentencing.
Like that's what I wanted to know. I mean, wouldn't you want to give that information? Because that's what if something is based off of a true story, don't you want to know like the full ending?
Yeah. Don't you know?
It's like Pamela got this, and then Billy's this.
Billy was sentenced to this, and whatever.
Nothing.
Because I thought, well, maybe the sentences hadn't been announced yet, because sometimes those can happen months later too, and it wasn't ready by the time for production. But no, in that documentary from HBO, they announced the sentence like immediately after reading the verdict, that she is life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah.
For her role as accessory to first-degree murder, right?
Yeah, they should have at least showed that. But
they could have easily said it, if nothing else, right? They had a judge who talked in the movie. They could have done it that way. The other thing that was really interesting about this movie and how it was put together is that I could not tell where the commercial breaks were going to be.
Oh.
You know, like when we watched Bare Essentials, it was very clear.
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah.
But like for this, it was so well edited and constructed and put together.
Yeah.
That I can't tell where the act breaks were. Like, where would you put your commercial for Cheetos?
Orange juice? Did they show that?
Yeah.
Did they show the
commercial for orange juice?
If they had a commercial for orange juice, like right after their ad.
Van Halen touring.
Yeah, like a Van
promotion.
Halen promo.
Something like that. So yeah, it's fascinating. It made me more interested in the story, for sure. Especially with like all the sloppy stuff that the characters do and how they're, like, why are you openly talking about all this stuff? Why did Cecilia not come forward sooner?
Openly like making out with him, like in front of his friends and like the people in her media class or whatever. She's just like, but I don't know if that happened in real life. Mm-hmm. Like this public display of affection of Billy and Pam in front of like the school, and it's like no one went to a principal or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, they give off this feeling that Pam thinks that she's completely invincible, and I'm sure a lot of people who do commit crimes do feel that way, or people who are in affairs probably feel that way, like that they're never going to get caught, right? And that becomes their downfall. And I thought that maybe that's what this movie was trying to show us, is that Pam just thinks that she's untouchable because she's an adult, and she says multiple times in the movie, who are they going to believe, me or you?
Yeah, you're
like, you're
just
a little
kid,
and I'm an adult.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that is a real thing that probably a lot of kids hear in abusive situations. So it's
this
believable.
Gaslighting.
Yeah. So yeah. But the way the movie presented things is so sloppy, and again that the motive didn't seem super clear based off of how it was presented, made me think, oh, I'm interested in this story more. Mm-hmm. So it was effective in that way.
And then, like, I mean, in the documentary, they also talked to the woman who wrote the book To Die For, which the movie is also based on.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman. It's which Dylan? Matt
Dillon
Matt
is
Dillon.
the husband. But this movie is like that book
Joaquin
to the
Phoenix.
book to movie is loosely based off of this story, because the writer, her name is Joyce Maynard, she uses different names, but it's like similar situations. And then the way the movie or the book and movie ends is Nicole Kidman gets killed as well.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Oh well, spoiler alert.
Pam doesn't die, she's still alive.
Yeah. Because when I watched this movie in high school, I was like, oh, did Pam die? I'm like, no, she's alive now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the movie at the end gets, like, crazy, I guess.
Right. Yeah, what happens in the end? Do you want to talk about the sentencing of the different characters?
Well, that's...
Real people?
Yeah, this is going to be my true crime...
Okay, so let's quickly go into some of the other things.
Addition to this.
So we'll quickly talk about some of the cast and stuff that we haven't talked about before. Really, I think the only other person that we haven't talked about that's worth mentioning is Joyce Chopra, the director. She does a lot of documentary work, a lot of autobiographical documentary work leading up to this. She also is the Sundance Grand Jury winner and Spirit-nominated director for Smooth Talk, which is another fictional film from like 86, I believe, maybe 88, don't remember. But she's only done a couple like fictional movies, and I would consider this to be a fictional movie because it's not listed as a straight documentary and obviously has actors in it. She also has a Director Guild of America nomination for Best Children's Program Directing for Molly and American Girl on the Home Front. So like, one of those American Girl movies she was part of there. And then I think one of her other fictional movies that she's done is a movie called The Lemon Sisters, which I'm not very familiar with, but has some big names in there. And she's also done some TV stuff like Law and Order SVU and whatnot. Otherwise, we talked about everybody else. We'll see Helen Hunt again in 1991 movie Transfers 2 Into the Badlands. And also around this time, she was in the TV series called My Life in Times. So, awards. It did get one nomination from the American Cinema Editors, which are known as the Eddies. So it was nominated for Best Edited Television Special for Robert Florio, the editor. But he lost to John Wright for the movie Sarah Plain and Tall, which was part of the Hallmark Hall of Fame thing. And it is on our list. Performance-wise, it did very well. There's no box office, obviously, because it was a TV movie. But it aired on CBS on September 24th. And it was the #1 program for the night with a 15.9 rating and a 26.0 share. And also just to sort of reiterate once again how sensationalized that they're trying to make this movie, the tagline associated with this program was, "Their sex games have no boundaries." Really does not have anything to do with the story, like, at all. That does not encapsulate this movie or the plot, in my opinion. So it did very well in the ratings, so it got the #1 spot, so mission accomplished. And that's about it. So we can go on to the true aspect, what we know to be true, potentially, of the Pamela Smart story now.
Yeah. There was I found like a bunch of random articles that we can put on the website because I wanted to know where are these people now. And from watching that documentary Captivated, that was from 2014, and a couple years ago there was a Dateline about her again, but I listened to the podcast. Like, I tried to watch the episode, but it's not online anymore. And it was kind of pretty much the same of what was told in the documentary, except that she's still trying to find a way to reduce her sentence.
Sure.
She's trying right now. We didn't talk about this, but in the documentary, she talks about how badly treated she was when she started going to prison. Like, she was beat up, and she has like a metal plate in her cheek or whatever. But she just turned into studying, and she's got like multiple master degrees in like multiple fields, even like criminal justice now. So that's what this Dateline thing was about, and she's trying to get in contact with the New Hampshire governor to reduce the sentence, because I guess, at that time, she's just saying how the conviction for first-degree murder in New Hampshire is like automatically life without parole.
Yeah, and to be clear, she was committed of accessory,
yeah,
not even actually committing
the
act.
Because she didn't even do it.
Life without parole.
She didn't hold the gun.
Right, she wasn't there. She was not present.
Yeah.
No one's claiming she
was. So she's like accessory to it, but I guess for that conviction, you just automatically get life without parole. And she's just saying how, that's very archaic, and it's still the law as of like today, I guess. I mean, that was from 2019, but I'm assuming still today. And she's trying to overturn that, like contacting the New Hampshire governor to at least reduce her sentence, or at least give her parole. As for Billy, so there's Billy, we didn't even say like the friend who was with him, Randall.
Right, yeah, we didn't talk too much about that. Yeah, Randall.
Like the names of the other teens.
Yeah.
But,
Pete Randall, Raymond Fowler, and then JR Vance. They didn't say his real name. They just called him JR in this movie. I
couldn't find too much about the two friends, but Billy Flynn was sentenced to 40 years with 12 years deferred, and then he was paroled in 2015 when we watched that documentary, that was 2014, but at the end of that documentary, they even said that Randall and Flynn were considered to be under parole soon.
And if anyone's wondering how that's possible when Pam can't get parole, it's because basically those teenagers, one, I think were minors, so that was probably considered, and two, they helped the police build the case against Pam for a reduced sentence of second-degree murder and whatnots.
Yes.
So that has a
they show
sentence.
that near the end of the TV movie, like all three teens to talk together, and this was kind of dumb because they don't really do it in front of like a lawyer or anything. Mm-hmm. It's just the three of them, like, hey, if they're trying to convince Billy mainly, because Billy's like, but I love her. Right. And I don't want to do this to her.
Yeah, I don't want to turn against her.
Yeah, because I love her. But it's like the two teenagers telling Billy, like, hey, do you want to be in prison for the rest of your life? Or do you want to, like, reduce your sentence and help us, convict Pamela as the mastermind out of this whole thing? And eventually he does. But he was released in 2015, as well as Randall. So Randall and Flynn, they pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and after the plea bargain, they got their sentence of 28 years instead of life. And then in March 2009, a judge knocked 3 years off of Randall's sentence over the objection of prosecutors who noted that he was involved in a jailhouse assault 15 years before. And the judge said that Randall's record otherwise has been spotless and that he's shown great remorse. So he was also paroled in 2015. Billy lives, like, as of these articles that I was reading, this was the articles that I got all this info from were like 2015 and 2016. So I don't know what's going on as of like 2016 to now.
Right.
But Billy, he moved to Maine and he lives on a 3.5 acre land with his wife, and he just lives this private life where he tries to avoid the limelight because I guess people still recognize him.
Oh, okay.
And then Randall Flynn, Randall, I shouldn't say, he wasn't allowed to move back to New Hampshire. So, but they just said that he also moved away as well, and he lives like a similar lifestyle, like just trying to stay under the radar. And I was trying to find stuff about Cecilia, and there is an article that I read. Because in the movie and in real life, she was like, I want to be a journalist as well. Mm-hmm. But because of how the media handled this whole thing, that turned her off completely from wanting to go into journalism.
Okay.
So she moved away. She lives like somewhere in the Midwest now, and she's like, in this article, she's like, I wish I never even met Pamela Smart.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think anybody who would be involved in this.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, she did go on like a media blitz after the cases, or while the case was going on.
Right.
Did a lot of interviews and whatnot.
And now she's, I mean, as of like 2015, 2016, she's like married and she's a nurse.
Okay.
I have the court TV stuff, and that was kind of interesting. That we can put the link to that on the website.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's more to this case than meets the eye. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like it was done very, very quickly. And I'm sure we could get into a very long conversation about the court system and, when punishments meet the crimes and all that kind of stuff could be gotten into if we really wanted to, but we're not gonna, right? We kind of like alluded to thoughts, but why don't we just move on to rankings and ratings instead?
Yeah.
All right, so on your 1 to 5 star scale, where would you put Murder in New Hampshire, the Pamela Smart Story?
I mean, I'm gonna give this a 3. I mean, I liked it.
Yeah.
I was interested the entire time.
Me too.
And I was, the only thing I really didn't like was kind of just the over-the-top PDA and like the cheesiness of certain things.
Yeah,
But the acting was fine. The editing was fine. The way that they were kind of like true to how the visuals were was good.
I completely agree. Yeah, on my 0 to 4 star scale, I'd probably give this a 3 as well.
This is probably one of the best TV movies I've seen.
Right,
made for TV movies I've seen.
We've seen technically 3 TV movies if you want to count Cast a Deadly Spell, since that was an HBO.
Yeah,
original.
and this is my favorite of the 3.
I think Cast a Deadly Spell is probably like easily the most well made. And felt like a real movie. This felt like a TV movie, except for the lack of commercial break noticeability. But yeah, I mean, solid acting. It got me interested in the story, right? You know, it made me want to learn more, which I think is a very crucial part to anything that's dealing with true to life events, is that it piques your curiosity. So every movie is worth watching once. Would you watch it again?
Sure, but I wouldn't go out of my way to. But I don't know, this will never come back on TV ever, but if it was on, I would watch it.
Right, yeah, it's probably going to stay on the streaming services. I wish there were so many more TV movies available on streaming services.
That are like this, yeah.
Just, yeah, in general. Like, there's so many that are lost to the world where you have, like, popular actors who were in these early productions that you don't get a chance to see. And it would be fascinating to kind of revisit some of those. So, I don't know if anybody knows how to make that happen. But, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as well. I think I'd be more inclined to watch more stuff about Pamela Smart in general, but not necessarily this. I feel like I got enough
like more
out of
documentaries, like an update.
Yeah, I'd be more interested to see like actual documentary stuff, or maybe even a different interpretation
I
of
think
fictionalized.
Just looking at the when I was trying to research this a little bit, I think there was a Discovery Plus series about this as well. Like a 6-part type of, kind of like the staircase type of thing.
Sure.
So I don't know if they would give more information.
Yeah, so I would be much more inclined to watch something like that than to watch this again. I feel like I know exactly what this movie was trying to tell me.
Like more real life stuff.
I'm good. I'll watch other Helen Hunt stuff. I'll watch other Chad Allen stuff. And I'll watch other Pamela Smart stuff.
I'll watch To Die For again, because I like that.
Oh, yeah, I'd watch To Die For. I've never seen that. That'd be fun. Even though I know...
You can compare.
Yeah. If you out there want to watch Murder in New Hampshire, the Pamela Smart Story, as of this recording in December 2021, it's available on Tubi, IMDb TV, the Roku channel, digital rental, VHS, DVD. As always, check your local listings. As for us, you can find us on all your major podcasting platforms. Please do remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies, along with show notes and more. Next week, we're in January. We're in the cold weather, so we're going to watch Cool as Ice. It's available on Tubi, IMDb, TV, Con TV, digital rental, VHS DVD. We will see you then.